Hello there and welcome to the Animation Industry Podcast. My name is Terry and today I was really tempted to buy, my friend sent me this, a $13,000 18-foot monitor lizard statue because how cool would that be to just have that in your living room when your friends come over? Today's chat is with German stop-motion animator Eliott Deshusses, who shares what the stop-motion industry is like in Germany and how he got into it. Eliott studied at the Filmakademie Baden-Württemberg and has an incredible reel of really fascinating and unique stop-motion projects that have included work with some big brands like Audi, Miracle Whip, Universal, and Yamaha, as well as some really cool personal projects too. But first, this episode is sponsored by Hue, makers of colorful plug-and-play cameras for learning, work, and play. Originally designed for teachers, Hue cameras can also be used for creative activities such as capturing hand-drawn pencil tests and shooting behind-the-scenes footage, time-lapse videos, and of course, stop-motion animation. Their cameras have flexible, posable necks, manual focus controls, and they're compatible with Dragon Frame, OBS, Twitch, Zoom, and many other camera apps. Visit huehd.com to learn more and follow at Hue Cameras on social media for news, fun, and giveaways, and of course, get 10% off any Hue product from huehd.com with the code 10TerryAIP. And I've included all of those details in the description of this chat, so please go check them out. And now, without further ado, let's jump in. Hello, Eliott. How are you doing?
Hi, Terry. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for coming on the podcast. I know it's very late where you are in Germany and Hamburg right now, but thanks for coming on. I'm excited to chat because you have some super interesting, stop motion and 2D mix stuff that I'm excited to hear about. So why don't you tell me how did you get into stop motion directing and animating in the first place?
Um, for the most part of my childhood, I
Yeah.
wanted to be a jet fighter pilot. Super fast, super cool. I love planes. Like this is my childhood passion. It never left me. I'm still flying some, but not professionally. But by the age of 16, I just realized it's way too much math. Way
Math.
too much. Yes, yes. To be well, I didn't want to be a commercial airline pilot. This is way too boring. I wanted like the fast stuff, and you have to be well in France. You have to definitely go through a lot of physics, a lot of math, um, practically showing that you are disciplined enough to learn all the hardcore stuff in math, physics, biology. It's
Wow.
separated like that in France before you do like your final degree out of school. And I realized that, and I was really bad at math. Well, I liked it, but definitely not enough for the studies that belong to it. I wasn't super sporty, and I just realized it's a childhood dream, and that on the military stuff was anyway not my thing. So I was kind of, well, dreams are shattered. I really thought it's going to be it for years and years. And then, I'm 15, 16, and I'm in full puberty. I'm a very unpleasant youngster. And
Okay.
it's somewhere on holiday, and my bigger sister got a camcorder for Christmas. She had it already half a year, and never really piqued my interest. One day, out of boredom, I asked her if I could lend it for 5 minutes. And there was somewhere in the garden. I took it, and I said, well, I'm going to shoot something. So I just pointed it at my face and press play, or press record, and walked through the garden as if aliens were chasing me. I was like panting and behind me and stuff, like 10-second tops. And then I stopped, and I was about to give it back, and I said, well, I'm gonna have a look. I know what I shot, but I'm still gonna have a look. And watching it, I think I didn't understood it back then, but I felt it. I felt like, wow, the framing and my face and the angle and the camera, something happened. And without me knowing, it was like sometimes I think your brain has secret plans for you, and it kind of drove me. And I was picking fruit in the summer with my sisters, and the money I made, I bought a camera out of it. And I didn't know what to do with it. I just said, well, there's something about it. I need to have it. And then I had it, and I started recording me and my friends, smoking a lot of marijuana, having parties, like documenting this,
At
like
15?
anybody would. Yeah, 15, 16. And one day when like YouTube wasn't even a thing, I saw a video of a guy making a stop motion video about a joint rolling itself. Like the weed is coming and cigarette is coming. And I was like, wow, like this is me, like tinkering and smoking weed. Well, that's awesome. I'm gonna do it. And my camcorder didn't have any mode to take just still images, so I had to like press rec like super fast to have still images, and that's how I made my first stop motion videos. I was like, okay, this is something. I felt the magic behind it. And after graduating, I said, well, maybe I could study animation, and that's how it started. Like years after, like maybe when I was like 22 or something, I really felt like, okay, now I know why it picked me, because it's awesome. And I learned about cinematography and all the grammar, and it's actually a language in itself. And I fell in love in a few directors, and yeah,
Wow.
I knew it was for me, and I knew
You
stop motion would be my thing.
you studied in university, you studied stop motion or filmic cinematography in
Well,
Germany?
I started my studies in France. Like when I was 18, I knew I needed to learn how to draw. I knew it was something I would need anyways, and I wasn't good at it, so I just had to start somewhere. And I found next to my hometown in a smaller town illustration school,
Hmm.
and they had different classes. Um, Modeling and painting and illustration and live session drawings and whatnot, and tiny bit of animation. And I just picked the classes I wanted, and I actually got expelled after a year because I wasn't doing enough. Um, I yeah, so I got expelled after like 1 year, but I'd learned quite a lot. I could draw quite a bit. It was fine. And then I switched to an animation school in Paris. It was like, yeah, the only state diploma you could have in animation. And I did that, and that's where I really learned about cinematography and had tons of homework, and I had to work. I got expelled, so my parents were like, "This time,
Yeah.
stick to it." So I was like, "Okay, I stick to it," and it was nice. I learned a lot. It was 2 years. I graduated. I shot a little stop motion graduation film in my own apartment. Um, yeah, and it was kind of stupid. I didn't have blinds, so I just shot at night. I just slept during the day and shot at night because I needed to have like
Is this your grad film with the like the taxi and the white character?
no, that was later. And when I finished that, I already like um, had the ambition to study in Germany. There's that kind of super nice film school with a specialized animation institute. And I already had tried twice to get in. And there's like, I don't know, like 600 to 800 people applying for the animation course
Yeah.
every year, and maybe 10 are taken. And
So
I
why
got
would
invited.
you, so you already went to kind of animation school in Paris.
Yeah.
Why would you want to go to another school that you didn't feel like you knew enough about animation and needed to learn more still?
Yeah. Well, the animation school in Paris, it was very generalistic.
Hmm.
Like you have to do some CGI, and you have to do
Yeah.
some modeling, you have to do some painting, you have to do some cinematography and stuff. So it was very generalistic. It was very good basis, but I wanted to make films in a team. And as a stop motion guy, you probably know it yourself. It's kind of tough to find peers who are also into stop motion.
Yeah.
And I knew like that school, um, they have possibilities, and there are like sections for like every department. You have just for camera guys, just for directing documentaries, directing feature film, directing commercials, and
Yeah.
producing. And so every department has its own class and is super nicely represented. So yeah, I really wanted to try that. I knew the people I would get to know there would might help me get into the industry afterwards. And
Nice.
that's actually exactly what happened. Without that school in Germany, I I would have done something else. Like
Okay, so you got into this school, you studied stop motion with peers, you got the connections, and that's how
yeah.
you got your start. I did want to ask you about your thesis film though, because like the scope of it is huge. The sets look huge. You know, what like how where did you shoot this? It's like very professionally done. Was it at the school itself?
Um, the school, well, the sad thing is, when I went to that school, I was still the only stop motion guy. Well, there was another student who was doing stop motion for her diploma, but she wanted to do her own stuff, so we didn't really collaborate. But I found a producer and a cameraman. I wrote it myself, but I could like exchange with screenplay students, like what do you think and stuff. And generally speaking with the class all the time, that was like weekly you had to present the state of your work in front of the whole class, and would gather feedback and move on. And the school just said, okay, we don't have location for you to shoot. Like nobody did stop motion in years, so we're going to rent something for you. And that's one of the big benefits of that school. It's on one hand it's public, so it's more or less free, but it's in a super highly industrial state in Germany where there is very little culture, but a lot of money. So there's a
Ah,
lot of money getting pumped in by the state. So they have actually amazing means to produce
so I should
massive
move
films.
there, is what you're saying. You didn't have to pay anything for public school, even though you weren't German heritage or
I am
citizenship.
actually
Oh, you're
half
half
German.
German. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But
So that helps.
nevertheless, I could have been Chinese. It would have been the same.
Really? Hmm.
Yeah,
So they
and
so
it's
they rented out a giant industrial studio, and then
exactly.
because the scope of your film is ridiculous. There's multiple sets. They're absolutely huge. They're very perfect in like how they're geometric. It's a long video. There's animation. Like
Yeah.
it seems like something that a whole team would be produced behind. But it was tell me more about how you just did it yourself in in a industrial warehouse.
Well, I had my project, like that's the thing too. For my graduation film in Paris, I had like 3 months. For that graduation film, I had like 1.5, 2 years.
Okay, okay,
So
okay.
I'm really promoting you, like take your time, find the people. So my like the core of my team was my cameraman, Adrian Langenbach, which is still a very good friend of mine. You had to find that cameraman who is happy to shoot for 6 months with you,
Yeah.
waiting hours between the shots to relight and prep the next scene. So we were living together in a flat. It was a nice time. It was a very long time, tedious time. I had no animators, so I animated the whole thing, and I had multiple set builders who built those amazing
Okay,
sets.
okay, wow.
Um, and the school gave you already like quite a budget, like for like of external costs, like costs that are not like the rental of a camera, which is already in the school, or the rental of that huge studio that the school is going to cover, but like yeah, buying materials to buy the stuff, or get some super nice John Wright model making ball and sockets
This
to
is
your property.
amazing. Yeah, what the heck? I'm thinking of like I went to Sheridan in Oakville in Canada, and this there is a stop motion department in a studio, but like you have to do everything yourself. There's no help from anybody else. There's no camera people. There's no people building your sets. You have to do everything yourself. And you only do it in your last year, and you only start animation I think in like January is the earliest you can start, and you should be done by like March. So you only have a couple months to do the whole thing. So
Yeah.
this, what you're describing to me sounds like a dream. Like I want to go there right now and be like, all right, I'm coming back to school so that I can spend the public's money and have a team.
Yes,
Wow.
it's also kind of an overkill. Like I knew this is a one of a kind opportunity
Yeah.
to like direct my own thing and write it myself and take all this time without somebody blowing hot at my neck and tell me, oh, well, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
like people just let me do it. And it was not easy, but in the end, it was way too much. Like this is just my opinion, but I spent like years developing, shooting, post production this movie, this short film. And when you step then in the industry, it's a step down at first. It's like
Of
all the
course.
things you had, first they're gone. So it's like that was kind of a step down, I would say,
So wait.
from
Okay, so producing a dream film like that, kind of on somebody else's dime with so much time and people involved, is a lot of people's dream.
yeah.
What impact did this film have for your career? Like once you finished it, did did this film impress people, and that's how you got your animation directing and animating work? Like, what was the impact of this film, other than pretty, achieving this story that you wanted to create?
um, nothing,
Nothing.
nothing,
What do you mean
um,
nothing?
nothing. Like almost no festival wanted to have it. It's a super dark film. I have to admit. It's also it's a graduation film too. Like I would, I'm often thinking about how I would do it again and do it better and do it differently. I don't know. The people I met on the few festival I went where the film was presented, the ones who were moved by it were moved in a very sad way.
Oh
So
wow.
I loved it, but I felt so alone in the end. And I understand it's not a happy film. It's like mostly black and white.
Yeah.
Um, it's probably at some point confusing. Yeah, I kind of understand why it didn't have any real success. The only thing that was super nice is I got to go to the Beijing Film Academy. Yeah, like actually the film school in Beijing for like this student festival, and that was a blast. Like spending one
Nice.
week in China was super awesome, um, but it never won anything. Um,
But like surely you used it for your portfolio and stuff when you were looking for work, no?
less and less. How I got my very first job.
Yeah.
Um, Let me remember her name. She's a camera woman and also a line producer for Tim Burton's film. Angela Poschet. She's a bit older now, but she's quite known in the stop motion industry. Worked a lot with Tim Burton, and she happened to watch over our shoulders a few times a year while I was doing my film back then.
Yeah.
She's a very good at her job, but a very tough woman. And when I was done, I sent her my graduation film. I said, "Well, I'm done, and I'm looking for a job. So if you know anybody in Germany who give me a job, I gladly take it." And she replied, "Nice music."
Oh no.
That's what you have to say about it. But nevertheless, she gave my contact to some production companies in Hamburg who were looking for a stop motion cameraman for a children's series.
Hmm.
And like very often I said, oh, sure, I'll do it. have no idea, but I watched my cameraman doing it, and I did a little bit myself, but I'm definitely not a cameraman. But that's how I like got in.
So you showed up on your first day and you didn't know what you were doing?
Mostly, yeah. Yeah,
But
mostly. Yeah,
so so you quickly studied and faked your way till you felt confident and people didn't notice, I guess.
yes, yes.
Well, that's good.
I made some major mistakes on the way, but there was were still are very nice people. They called
Yeah.
Trick 17. It's a reference to Houdini's 17th trick, and they were like, yeah, they're doing stop motion, some 2D animation, and I guess they trusted me. They trusted that woman, Angela Poschet, to like vouch for me. Like, she's
So
gonna do it.
tell me how you've moved up to direct stop motion and things like that from starting, you know, working the camera. Like, how do you make that transition where you're finally working at a studio, but you're not working the right job that you want? How did you make that step up to then go on to directing?
Um, I my like I'm freelance right now. I've always been freelance, and I would say now I'm I'm doing two kinds of jobs mainly. One is, and it's actually the bigger part is I'm head of animation. Like there's a it's our mainly commercials, like head of animation and commercial director. For the head of animation, it's more like there's already a director. It's a commercial shoot with a little bit of animation, or in camera effects, or puppetry, or whatnot. And that's mostly actually what I'm earning my money with.
Hmm.
And the step to directing, it took a few. It really started like 2 years ago, like shortly before COVID kicked in. I got my first real commercial directing job. With Little Potatoes Hopping
Yeah.
for a mayonnaise brand. That was like the first one. It was very small budget, but yeah.
How did you manage that somebody asked you to animation direct though when you'd only been head of animation before?
Yes, that's the thing, and that's what's sending us back again to that school I went. There's a production company in Hamburg, and they're making a lot of CGI for cars, and they have a lot of freelancer comping all day. And one of the head of the production just got that bored, um, and we're looking for a stop motion director. And she just shouts in the room, "Does somebody know anybody directing stop motion in Hamburg?" And that guy I barely knew
Yeah.
said, "Well, I know Eliott. Like he studied with me years ago. I could give you his contact," and that's how it happened.
Wow. So he didn't even know if you were doing anything anymore. Like he wasn't following your work. He just remembered
No,
he remembered
he
all the
knew.
they had to rent a warehouse for this one kid who was in school. He just remembered that.
Yeah,
Wow,
more or
okay,
less. He knew I
that's
directed. I directed my own graduation film, and that's all he knew. He
wow.
didn't know I was a lousy cameraman on a stop motion series for children and stuff like
That's
this.
quite incredible that, you know, connections that you don't even think of last so long, years even. Huh.
Yes, yes.
So okay, so most of your work is animation directing. How, or sorry, animation head of animation with some new animation directing, which I think is great. How stable is it in Germany, like in Hamburg, where you are right now? Like, how stable of a career is staying within stop motion exclusively as a
Uh,
freelancer?
it's incredibly small.
Yeah.
Like I I don't know a single, or there might be one or two, but a single stop motion animator who is making a living doing stop motion only in Germany.
Yeah.
Like it's just so small. Uh,
So then you do something else on the side too, or are you the only person that does this full time?
well, I was speaking of animators,
Yeah.
and directors. Directors who do stop motion, I know a few. I know a few, but they're like shooting maybe once or
Yeah.
twice a
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
or shooting maybe 5 times a year, but very small projects,
Yeah.
and usually have something on the side. So like I'm teaching a lot on the side,
Like through a
not only
school?
because, huh?
Through a school or on your own?
No, yeah, like I'm sometimes taking care of the students are doing diploma in stop motion at my former school,
Ah,
or teaching kids in dodgy neighborhoods, like smaller kids,
okay.
or teaching stop motion to very young, super posh kids, like very different clientele.
Yeah.
And because I kind of like it. And it's also a bit of a long shot, like when I'm 40, 50, I don't know if I want to be on set doing like crazy hours and being super stressed. So maybe like sliding slowly, preparing the nest to be a professor one day. That would suit me because I kind of like it too.
So then, okay, so like thinking about your career in Germany with stop motion and you're teaching, you're directing, and you're animating, like what is the ultimate goal for you? Like, do you want to stay? Do you want to become like a director over time? Like, if you're thinking long term, like you said, you don't want to be working so many hours, like grueling hours animating anymore. Like, what is the projection of what you're going towards?
Um, well, I do have, I would say, I work, I have like 4 months of paid work per year.
Mhm.
The rest of the time, I have free time. Yes, it's kind of awesome, I know. But it can also be grueling because sometimes you're like, wow, I just did a big gig and my bank account is full. And it's just like slowly but
Yeah.
surely decreasing. And then another job comes and it's full again. And then I still have huge gaps of time where practically nothing happens. I learned to deal with that kind of stress because in the beginning, when my bank account wasn't that full, I was like, fuck, fuck, fuck. If in a month nothing happens, I'm fucked. I will have to flip burgers at McDonald's or whatever. But thankfully, it never happened. So my goal is actually using that spare time to try new stuff.
Hmm.
And yeah, like for example, right now my goal is to try new pictures. Like lately, I mixed some live action with a performer wearing a mask out of cardboard and let him perform outside. And then afterwards, hiring a 2D animator who is then drawing a face on it. I kind of gave it away, but it's such a simple thing to do, and I've never saw it anywhere. So I just did it. I was
Yeah.
like,
Why didn't you animate it?
because I'm not good enough at 2D animation.
So okay, so but uh what are you creating this for? You said just to try some new things and experiment.
Yeah,
So if it's an experiment, why does it matter what the animation looks like if it's an experiment?
it's for us. It's a speculative. How do you say?
Speculative. So like when you're directing again and you can show like we can do this, for instance.
Exactly. I'm represented by few production companies and an agency, and actually the goal is to go actually directly to clients and say, look at this.
Yeah.
We could put your clothes on, put your brand on. Have you ever seen pictures like that? No, it will stand out. Just do it with us. We already
Yeah.
have the team. So it's actually super dangerous because any creator would say, "Oh, that's a very good idea. Thank you. We're going to
Of
do it
course.
ourselves." So yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying. Like, and it always paid off. Like doing little animations, posting it on Instagram, and people calling me and say, "Hey, I saw your little bus in the box on the hill. That's awesome. We have some shoes. Would you maybe do a commercial about it?" I'm like, yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, of course. Please pay me.
Because commercials is always about convincing people who have no imagination.
Yeah.
Like
They just have
you
money.
have to show them proof of concept. That's how it would look like. That's a keyframe. We did an animatic, so you can feel how it's gonna go and stuff. You have really like to to chew it for them, so it's as visual as possible, so they can like feel what you're going, where you're going, and for them to say yes.
So are you reaching out to these clients on your own, or do you go? I know you're repped by two different agencies. Like, is
Yeah.
that more or less like a client comes to agency and says we have a project, and then you pitch something to them?
That's one way we're going to go. Um, I will definitely use my contact through the agencies, um, but also going directly to clients.
Gotcha. Also, you're only working 4 months a year, you said. Why not use that some of that time to learn 2D or CG or something else, and then broaden out the kind of animation work that you want to do?
Because I'm lazy.
Yeah. You're like, listen, I'll just hire some people to do this for me. I'm not interested. So, okay, so at the end of the day, you don't even want to be animating, do you?
Oh no, 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 no. I mostly don't animate anymore.
Hmm.
When I say I'm head of animation, means I gather my team, I explain the production company how much it's going to cost, what
Yeah.
testing we need, what people need to talk in what order to. Like it's more like managing the animation part of a project, but I'm
Yeah.
sadly not anymore so hands-on. And definitely, like I know people who are animating professionally for 15 years. Why would I come, who animated maybe 2 years in my life, say, I'm going to do it?
Because you enjoy it. I don't know.
Oh, it's so stressful. Yeah, I kind of like it, but it kind of stresses me. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
I,
got that.
and I also really like the fact that I have an idea how to like direct a shot. I talk to my animator, and he's like, uh-huh, and he's gonna do something different anyways. And it feels like Christmas. It's like awesome. That shot is awesome. I could never have done it myself. And that liberty you took doing this and that, I wouldn't have because I would be stressed or whatever, because I am not you. And I always like am happy to take people on my team who are burning for what they're doing already. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
burning a
yeah.
little bit for animating. I like it. I understand it. I did it once or twice, but I really much prefer to put it in hands of people who like it
Yeah.
a lot.
That's great. You're making me think about like, do I like this? And because I really like animating myself, and when I see somebody else animate, I'm always like, kind of digesting what they did. If envious of the liberties they took that turned out amazing, or like, how would
Mhm.
I have done this differently? Like, I think I have a different loop in my head. But okay, so why, if you're enjoying managing people and executing a vision, why do you stick mostly within stop motion then? Why not branch out to CG or just 2D or something else? Like,
Um, I wouldn't. Well, CGI still doesn't appeal to me a lot.
yeah,
Well, I tried. I really tried like getting into Blender, like 3D printing and stuff. It's super nice for stop motion. So you have to like learn a bit of modeling and stuff. But animating and CGI, it's just too
yeah,
far away from my mind. I really don't have a taste for that. But I think CGI could be a tool in the background to help make a better track for some
gotcha.
shot
So then,
or some.
so why stick to animation and not just get into management for something else completely, like a different industry?
Um, well, because it's still magic. Um, I, I really like thinking a whole film project through, and like that's the cool thing about animation is you can be responsible of everything on the screen, and the color of the
Yeah,
sky, and how tall is the grass, and how is the figure going to look like, and those liberties are awesome. And the first steps of thinking about a project and what you could shoot and stuff, um, I really like it. I couldn't manage services, like how do you say it? Something I couldn't grasp in the end, even though you can't grasp the movie in the end, but the whole process before is so good and so nice. And one of the cool thing also about the whole tinkering thing, I think I'm a tinkerer. That's mainly the thing. I like to try. I like to gather experience about materials, what's going to work, what's not going to work, and because like the frustration of not being a pilot because I'm not good at math, because I'm not good at applying super strict rules, tinkering is perfect for me. Like CGI, if you know to press the right keys in the right order, you will get the right result. The computer is always right. If you fail, it's just your fault. You don't have the knowledge. Over. It's like, it's way too much science. But in animation, it's like, you know what? I have here a bit of white tack. I'm going to do it like that. It's going to hold just the amount we need for the shot. It's going to fall apart afterwards, but it worked. And
Yeah.
that I like a lot. It's a lot of improvisation. It's a lot of, I'm sure it's going to hold. It's a lot of problem solving on a very, tinkery way. It's like, how could I?
I
And that
feel
I
like that
like.
when I'm animating, like there's like, it's like a ticking bomb and I'm trying to like cut the right wires in the right order. And if I don't, it's all going to explode and things fall over and I have to start again. So I don't know.
Exactly.
It's like this weird stress that I enjoy when I'm animating.
Yes, it's
And
like
then you watch it back and you're like, this is literally just magic, how this came
yes,
together. Like it's only this one time. It'll never be
yeah,
the same again. And we got the
exactly.
shot.
Yes, yes. Like this car crash in slow motion. Like you just have to like steer
Yeah,
and
yeah, 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 yeah.
it's
Exactly.
nerve-wracking, but in the end, it's some kind of always worked out. So I
Nice.
kind of
So,
trust the
so
process.
okay, so kind of your career setup right now is, you have about 4 months of work, and that's teaching, directing, a little bit of head of animation directing, and then in your downtime, you're too lazy to learn. I'm just kidding,
I,
but
I,
you're trying new techniques so that you can, come to clients with new and interesting things. That makes a lot of sense. What's kind of next for you in this cycle?
um, I don't know. I don't know. What I definitely know is what I don't want. Like, I'm not interested in developing content or making my own short
Mm,
films. I don't have much to tell. Um, what I really like is what commercial shooting brings you. It's like you have a super narrow frame. It's like it has to be those colors, it has to be not longer than this, and it's approximately the story you have to fit in. Do the best out of it, and that's exactly the task that whips it out of me. Like,
yeah.
yes, I'm going to show you, I'm going to find an idea, and it's going to be exactly what you want, more or less. Uh,
It's a fun
and
challenge. It makes sense. Nice.
yeah, yeah. And well, I would like that directing gets a bit more. Um, Things are probably going to come, not yet, but I'm finishing the little projects I've been doing during my free time and actually go with the flow. I don't really have a big goal in front of me. I'm just happy if I can live out of it. I must say, I'm not, and maybe that's a contrast with most of the people you invite in your podcast. I'm not a high achiever. I'm I'm not like burning for it and working every day, 12 hours a day, and reaching for success and an Oscar and stuff like that. I was dreaming about it when I was a student, but
Yeah.
just not me. I'm just happy if I get along. I'm just happy
Well,
if I get enough money to live and do nicer and nicer projects with bigger and bigger budgets with nicer and nicer people. Um, that's the goal actually. Most of my colleagues are friends. Um, I'm just having a blast when we have a shoot because we're all going to be working together, solving problems together. It's
yeah.
like stressful holidays,
Amazing. Well,
but
let me tell you, people grind for years to become head animator, director, etc. And it sounds like you got there without, pushing yourself like crazy, like you just said. What is the overall philosophy that you kind of live by in your career that you would say has gotten to you to this point?
fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you
Um,
make it.
yeah, I have to say, yeah, it's super super basic, but it's actually what got me where I am. Not super far, but surprisingly far enough for the amount of effort that I put in.
Nice.
Um,
I mean, that
when
makes sense. Everybody says it.
yes, it's a mix. It's a dangerous mix of confidence and ignorance, and
Yeah.
the confidence that you will somehow find a solution. And like what really was a milestone in my career. This is a spot for some supermarket in Germany, like, I don't know, Walmart, stuff like this. And it was a live action commercial with a very good friend director I have, Lars Timmerman. And he wanted the fruit, a pear, to strip in stop motion. And they were like, Eliott, can you do that? And I was like, yeah, but give me 4 days of testing, try and error. And what you can imagine, like, how the fuck do I, how the heck do I make a pear strip on set in stop motion? So we tried and tried, and the producer was sending me like, hey, that CGI company just made a test shot and it looked amazing, like flying pear skin and stuff. Like I wasn't even done yet, it was already finished. And we're like, shit, they're gonna take us the job, but it was so expensive that they didn't get it. So we tried and tried. We had model makers who like cast pears in resin, tried some latex or silicone skin on it, and I tried with my animator Rosanne Janssen to like peel it elegantly down the pear's body, and it didn't work, and it didn't work. And then the food stylists say, hey, Eliott, do you know I could maybe like take a real one, and if you put it like 5 minutes in boiling water, you can peel the skin way easier. And I was like, that's an idea. So I told the model maker that just cast the naked fruit, like a hard solid block of resin of a pear without the peel, and find a real pear that has approximately the same shape. Boil it for 5 minutes. I tried tens of varieties of fruits to find the right one. And actually, true, when you boil the pear, you will get mushy a few millimeters under the peel, and then you cut it open from behind, and you slowly scrape the whole fruit and just leave the empty skin. And then we put some Vaseline on the naked resin pear and just like like um, like Leatherface, and just put the peel on, and that was it. And then the animator just had to like make it slide down this pear,
Wow.
and it worked. It worked.
And it
It could
didn't
have
go brown or
failed.
like or anything?
Oh yeah. And then you have to find a technique, like you have to put it in water with salt and lemon juice so it doesn't get brown too fast and stuff, and light it with LEDs,
Oh my goodness.
tungsten, so it doesn't get too hot. And of course, the pears we had in Hamburg were perfect, but then we shot in Romania, and the food stylist had Romanian pears. The Romanian pears were way different, and he was hating me on set because I was making him boil pears, tons of pears. They were like, this is not the right one. Another one, another one, another one. He was like, stop it now. You have to get happy with what I give you, and just the last one. And the last one was the good one,
Wow.
and it somehow worked. So yeah, a mix of happy accidents, try and error, and a little dose of confidence.
And a lot of anxiety, it sounds like.
A lot of anxiety. Yeah, you have to be super stress resistant.
Oh my
That's a
goodness.
key.
Maybe as a last question, somebody in Germany, I'm sure, is listening to this podcast and wants to get into stop motion and directing and commercials just like you have. What would you say for them to focus on right now as they're trying to make a career out of this?
Hmm. Focus on the people you know
Hmm.
that can be a help for you to achieve your goals. Like, and I know quite a few younger people than me who just, yeah, gather like-minded people
Yeah.
who have the grit and who just want to do it, want to fail, want to try, want to succeed together. And it's about building communities. Like the people I know now in Hamburg, they are worth gold. Like they are like 10, 15 years older than me. They know so much more than I do. I'm like sitting on the shoulder of the giant
Yeah.
and have a look at what they did and learning from them. And yeah, get yourself mentors, get yourself some friends. Um, and it sounds a bit innocent, like yeah, friends. But that's one of the biggest lessons maybe in my career is if it works personally with somebody, that's already half the work. Because when you're gonna get on set and do stuff, then you are gonna see the real people getting out. When you're tired, when you're stressed, it has to be friends. You have to be able to tell your friends, uh, I'm going to give you a cutback. I'm so sorry, but we have to. I know you're tired. I know it's hard, but please. And if the guy's like having a mental breakdown because he hasn't slept, then I would be fair too. But because you're friends, he will some kind of get the extra mile, like this kind of soft power you can have with friends. Like you don't need to yell or to be angry or to be a dictator on set to get good results. Actually, it's the contrary. So yeah, for all people beginning, find your mates
Yeah.
and stick to it. And that's also the thing, stick to it.
Your
Like
poor
I could,
friend who's having a mental breakdown, and you're like, "We're friends. You can push forward." He's like, "Oh no."
come on, we're friends. No, of course, everything.
Yeah. No, but that's super important, especially in stop motion world. Connections are everything, you know.
Yes.
The
It was
projects are so rare. At least it sounds like it in Germany and here in Toronto as well. That you know, when something comes around, we all know about it and we band together. And yeah, exactly. You only want to work with people you like as well. You don't recommend the jobs to people you don't like. So
exactly.
yeah,
I tried to like contact people I didn't know
yeah,
for jobs, showing them my reel and stuff. It never worked. Never, ever. It's just like I heard somebody said,
right,
because if you know somebody who said can roll, if you are shitty, then at least that's a guarantee already.
yeah.
Um, but even if a guy seems to be super good, if nobody knows him, well, nobody knows him. And it will
That's
take
fair.
maybe a lesser talented person for that because somebody knows him. So
That
that's,
makes
yeah.
that makes so much sense, 100%. Well, Elliot, is you know, as we're wrapping up, do you have any final words or things you wanted to share that you haven't said yet?
Terry, I'm really happy you had me.
Oh, of
Uh,
course.
I really like what you are doing. And now you know what? Now I would have hoped that you would do the Terry shelf, but you did not.
Oh
Yeah,
my goodness. This is yeah, I do this. Everybody in my life knows this.
adorable. I love it. I love it. No, it was
Well,
super nice talking to you. Thanks for having me.
yeah, of
It was
course, Elliot. Thanks so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. I love making connections. I love your work. I think it's super interesting, and it's been a pleasure chatting. So, yeah, and if you're listening and you want to follow or get in touch with Elliot, the best way to do that is to check out his website or go to his Instagram. And I'm gonna mispronounce your last name, but they're both Eliott Dish Deshusses.
good enough.
I'll practice later. And I'll include both those links in the description of the chat. And that's all for now. So thank you so much for listening. Okay, bye.